All right. What is going on YouTube? Viper vs ACCM in History Hit Open quarterfinals. We will have Chinese, Burgundians, Italians, and Bohemians for ACCM as his civs, Japanese, Malay, Cumans, and Portuguese for Viper. A lot of interesting choices here. The first game is Arabia. It's actually a much more vulnerable version of Arabia, so this is why I believe that Viper could pick Cumans on this map. And then we have one home map for each player for this best of three. Viper has chosen Arena, and ACCM has chosen Northern Isles. So it's pretty easy to predict the civilizations, or at least for ACCM, I would say. Northern Isles is going to be Italians, Chinese is probably for Arabia, and it's going to come down to Burgundians or Bohemians on Arena. And for Viper, it's a little bit more difficult because Cumans is probably his Arabia civ. Japanese feels like his island civ, but Portuguese can also be used over there. And Malay seems like his best arena civilization. Important note, there is a rule in the tournament that you cannot make Feitorias on islands because they want to avoid the stalemates. So that's the main reason why Portuguese might go unpicked in here in the end. Portuguese could be a reasonable civilization for Viper on Arena though, because I think Malay is the obvious civ pick there. It's a very powerful arena civ, but Bohemians are pretty much a counter pick to Malay in many, many ways on that map. So I feel like Viper might not want to play Malay because ACCM can just outplay them with the Bohemians. Alright, we have 30 seconds left from the spectator countdown, and then we can jump into the first game over here. It's going to be Chinese versus Cumans. Interesting matchup over here. Depends on how much ACCM can punish Viper for a 2TC boom, because that's probably what Viper wants to play here. As I said, it's a more vulnerable version of Arabia, so Viper will just try to exploit the fact that his opponent might have little chance to attack him. The winner of this match, by the way, plays against the winner of Villes versus Project Belgium. That's going to be played later today. Alright, let's just straight into the game over here. Viper will be playing in his regular yellow color on the left, in Cumans, and on the right side, we will have Chinese for ACCM in blue. Looking at the bases of the players real quickly, looks like ACCM has an okay-ish gold mine, but it depends on how he's voling himself. Voling in front here could help immensely for ACCM, otherwise this is not an ideal gold for him. He's got a backstone, the berries are nice and relatively easily volable map on the north. To the left side, Viper's got a good gold mine over here, front stone, which is not ideal, but he can easily vol here, and a second TC spot over here would be wonderful for Viper. It's on wood and it's on gold. This would be the perfect TC spot for Viper's second TC. Okay, so let's see what we got here for the snake. He's got two boards at the back, so it's impossible to lame him pretty much. Laming is allowed. Speaking of that, there's Viper coming in with that scout early on. He's gonna try and take a sheep from his opponent. Let's see if he wants to try and block a boar villager. He's still tempted to try and take that piggy back home, but oh boy, he runs into TC fire, and that's gonna hurt quite a bit. So, as things stand, ACCM is not losing a single sheep himself. Looks like Viper didn't bother scouting around his own base early on, so I'm tempted to believe that he wants to play a little bit more aggressively. ACCM looking to take a fight, but Viper has the hill here, so Viper actually takes the HP advantage as the two players are rushing up for the hill. Looks like Viper is still losing this fight, so he's gonna have to disengage. Maybe if he gets another downhills hit, he can even things out, but it doesn't seem likely right now. What are your predictions? It's hard to say, because yesterday I watched Viper's video about his wrist, and he said that he isn't as fast as he used to be with his wrist. And ACCM has been on fire recently. I'm still saying 2-1 for Viper, mostly because the maps that we're playing are slower paced. So you would have Northern Isles and Arena. Those are places where you don't need a huge amount of APM, so smart game plan and, you know, just the good game sense that Viper has might be enough to secure wins on those. If this tournament had a lot more open maps like Atacama, let's say, or Land Madness, then I would probably lean towards ACCM in a 2-1 fashion. But with the maps that we have available and the maps that we're playing in this best of 3, I'm actually thinking more on the Viper 2-1 path right now. Still, I think that whoever wins this one is probably going to have a pretty decent chance at getting into the grand finals, because as I said, the opponent in the semifinals will be either Villes or Project Belgium, and I think, as things stand, both of those players are weaker than either of these two in the event. Viper only has 2 on Wood. This is a clear 2 TC boom from him right now. He's just gonna try to play this one with like a 19-20 pop Feudal, then send a bunch of villagers on Wood, make the second TC over here, and that's it for him. He is still looking for his 2 sheep here, though. Oh, that's very unlucky for Viper. That's very, very unlucky for Viper here. He missed out on 2 of his piggies. There's a chance he's gonna find them, but that's gonna hurt his food eco a little bit if he misses out on them, and indeed, it's gonna be 19 pop for him. So for ACCM, there's a couple of things that you can do. For example, you can just try to go for either a Drush Fast Castle, but that's already not an option for ACCM because it's too late for it. It could have been a Premier Drush Fast Castle, or honestly, a Naked Fast Castle might also work. Just go Vol a little bit and go Fast Castle for ACCM. Because then you could go for a Forward Siege Workshop before Viper would get to Castle Age, plus you could add additional TCs yourself. Your eco would be weaker, but you could still try to pressure the opponent's eco at the beginning over here. The tricky thing with Cumans, and this is a strategy that Villes did in King of the Desert free, by the way, he was the one who pioneered this, is that you do the 2 TC boom, and then you start adding villagers to stone, because you will try to compensate for a later castle age and the fact that your opponent is Mangonaut pushing you by dropping a defensive castle and going for Kipchak. That's not really an option right now for Viper because his stone is on the front, however, so I somewhat struggle to see what Viper is gonna do against an early Castle Age aggression if ACCM decides to go for it. And you see, ACCM is clicking up quite late as well. So, actually it's 22 Veils with Chinese, not that late. So, this might just be Feudal boom into Castle Age by ACCM as well. I think one thing that he could do is go for a tower. That would be pretty helpful for him. Depends on where Viper is dropping his second TC at. Viper is not going for a barracks, so it's not going to be a scouts build. And there is the TC. I think it would have been slightly better over here for resource efficiency. The reason why this is a safer town center for Viper is that, like, if he makes it over here, ACCM can tower this wood line, and then this wood line is still inaccessible, and later on Mangonauts could shell this from the outside. Whereas in this case, Viper is going to have the TC up here at the safe spot. Going for the Cuman Palisades as well. He's going to have more HP on those, as looks like ACCM might be thinking about making a couple of archers here, although he's not on gold, so is he just gonna play scouts? That would be a bit of a mistake, although keep in mind that he can just add 2 scouts and just continue with a boom. Like, if you feel like you don't want to commit a lot to Feudal Age army, playing scouts is better, because playing scouts allows you to grab the eco upgrades, including Horse Color, much earlier. If you would play archers, you probably wouldn't be able to afford Horse Color. So you see, Chinese longer lasting farms plus Horse Color. ACM is just going to make 2 or 3 scouts to make sure Viper doesn't surprise him with anything. And then he's going to just go for a boom into Castle Age. Here comes the scout of Viper, and that's a Cuman scout, so it's faster than a Chinese scout. However, ACCM takes the hill. Wait a minute, I confused players again. It's happening a lot today, so it's Viper taking the hill and killing that scout. That was the obvious outcome, because Viper's got the faster moving scout, so he should be able to always run away from ACCM scout if he doesn't want to. And ACCM is coming forward with towers. Now, here's the deal. That tower could potentially deny the gold mine, and that could make Viper's Castle Age a lot more delayed than it should be. Viper still has a scout, and he's probably coming in to see what ACCM is up to. ACCM is actually starting to send a lot of villagers on stone. 4 villas on stone at this point is a full commitment to towering, and I'm not 100% sure this is the way ACCM should go. Because as long as you're not actively killing villagers from Viper, I think he's just gonna be fine with you towering. It would have probably been better to just go for, as I said, boom into Castle Age and go for a forward Siege Workshop, and just go for a push that way. Still, Viper is gonna have to try and contain this damage. ACCM will be able to deny the gold, but that's the most he can achieve. The second thing that he could try achieving is trying to deny farming space. That could be a nice idea, because remember, Viper cannot counter tower right now. Viper has 100 stone, and you see that Viper has to send villagers to this stone mine over here to mine stone. If you make a second TC, you can't counter tower, and this is what ACCM is using right now, and he wants to deny farming space. Because if you deny farming space, there is no food income for Viper. No food income means that he won't be able to use the 2 town centers to boom. As the walls are about to be broken through, a second tower will come in here for ACCM. Viper will probably react to the defensive tower over here. He needs to react with that tower, and you see he's just waiting for ACCM's tower. Outpost now for ACCM, but you see, the moment Viper saw the outpost foundation, he pulled the villagers to make a tower here. That's exactly what he needs to do. ACCM, on the other hand, I think he must be satisfied with the fact that he's just forcing Viper to make towers here. Because as things stand, Viper is gonna get delayed a little bit. ACCM decides to run past the TC fire, as he actually is gonna lose 1 scout, but he gets into Viper's eco, and Viper doesn't have a lot to defend here with, so he might try to fight back with villagers, but this is already pretty decent for ACCM. You see Viper is coming back with the vills, Viper's scout goes down, and now for ACCM, the key thing would be to find that stone mine. ACCM, in fact, knows about the stone mine. He should know Viper is on stone. The reason why he knows Viper is on stone, or why he should know Viper is on stone, is because he sees a defensive tower. The only way Kumans have a defensive tower is that either they bought stone, which seems unlikely because Viper doesn't have a market, or they mined some stone, and that is only possible in this stone mine for Viper. Another tower comes in. Viper is gonna try reacting with a defensive tower, but he only has 2 on stone, so he doesn't have enough stone right now for defensive tower. He's gonna have to rush up that market to buy 100 stone and make a tower here. Now going for defensive spearmen. He does have 10 villagers advantage right now, as now the scouts arrive, and they will try pushing the stone mine. Viper with the quick walls will not let those stone miners get slaughtered. Now ACCM knows what's up and that Viper is getting stone from there. So, as things stand, we do have only 2 scouts remaining for ACCM. He's trying to get through the walls. This is actually a very nice angle to attack, because he can deny a lot of farming space over here if he gets through the walls. It's a bit of a mistake from him to lose the scouts to the TC fire. He should have just kept them around here and tried to deny the second layering of this wall with those scouts. ACCM is not far away from Castle Age though. This is what I was talking about, that Kuman 2 TC boom is very heavy on food, as we're seeing the common mistake of ACCM not walling in the towers. This is not something that you should ever forget about when you're playing towers. Always wall in your towers, because if you do not, your opponent is just gonna pull vills and rush it down. So now Viper can access gold. That being said, Viper is still behind in Castle Age timing by quite a bit, and ACCM is about to click up. Next step for ACCM is probably a forward siege workshop, but given the fact that he's already mining stone, I could vouch for him sending like 6 more villas on stone and going for a forward castle, like going all in castle drop. Can Viper stop a castle drop? Absolutely not. And a castle drop here would potentially deny the gold mine from Viper and destroy 1 TC from him. And Viper wouldn't be able to do much against it, as I said. So I kind of feel like a forward castle at this point is better from ACCM than a siege workshop, but he would need to commit a lot more villagers to stone mining for that. He needs like 5 more villas on stone to be able to drop a castle upon hitting Castle Age. Viper going for defensive tower over here. Not sure what to think about that. I think he just got jebaited, because this is only an outpost, not a tower. Did Viper think this was a tower? That's the only reasonable explanation of making a defensive tower over here, as he's now trying to buy some food to get up to Castle Age. Bloodline's on the way, so we'll have some knights, and we'll probably have a forward siege workshop. ACCM is falling back with the vills. I feel like it's an opportunity missed here for ACCM, because he needs to punish Viper now for that eco. If Viper gets to Castle Age, he's gonna have a 19 villagers lead. Yeah, it's possible that he wants to avoid a castle drop in the tower. That I can understand, and I can support that. Although I feel like that's actually a very good tower for that. If that was the concept for Viper, that's a very, very good idea. Now he's clicking up to Castle Age. ACCM still has the chance to go for Mangonels. Once again, tower is not being walled in for ACCM. Those are massive mistakes. He's losing precious towers over here for not walling them in, and Viper is anticipating this very nicely. He realizes that the towers can easily be taken down, and Viper is going to take down those towers without a villager loss. Why did the food price go from 130 to 133 and back to 130 while Viper was only buying? Is it a visual bug? No, that's wood. He bought food and now he bought wood as well. That's why. That's why you're seeing that. Anyways, there's the forward siege workshop. So here comes the Mangonel. Viper is still not in Castle Age, which means that that tower only has 700 HP on that tower. That's the key thing here. A Mangonel, especially if it takes the hill here, will easily decimate a tower here. And that's what ACCM needs. He needs something now, because his opponent is ahead by 21 villagers. And Viper is going to start punishing for that. ACCM will need his own camos, because Viper is probably going to start by adding a couple of camos over here, just to deal with the initial knights of his opponent. And that Mangonel was trying to take a position on that hill, but that wasn't really possible right now. The collateral damage that this Mangonel is causing is actually destroying the palisades over here as well, so knights could potentially bash in, and knights are actually going to be inside Viper's base, causing him some issues, because, yeah, he's going to start making his own camos, but the fact that you're on the back foot, and you could potentially have your gold mine idle is a problem. ACCM is actually pretty close to dropping a defensive castle now. If he wants to do that, Viper adding 2 more TCs. He just wants to go full boom here. Monastery for ACCM to convert the camos. But I feel like Viper didn't get punished for his greedy play here. This is what I was talking about. You gotta punish Cumans here by hitting Castle Age much earlier and dropping a castle in their face. Looks like ACCM is adding TCs for now. But as things stand, both players are in Castle Age. And we have a 22 villagers lead for Viper. And Viper is gonna have the camos to fight this one. He doesn't have a lot of upgrades, but it's +1/+1 bloodlines against just bloodlines +1 defense knights. Camos aren't particularly great at dealing damage though, but there is no monks here just yet for ACCM. That's a nice ground attack, or so I thought. He just mangoes down his own knights. Viper is actually mixing a couple of step lancers now to try and combat the camos. Camos are now coming in as well from ACCM. Step Lancers could be pretty nice over here sniping the Monk, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're also very good at sniping the Mangonels, as I just feel like ACCM is dead. His window to punish the Cumans is gone, and now Viper is on 4 TCs, and that's a very, very consistent boom. Viper is floating a lot of wood, so he needs to add a huge amount of farms here to be able to keep producing vills. But at this pace, we're almost looking at a double villager count for Viper. I just think that ACCM didn't punish that greedy 2 TC boom enough. And maybe if he doesn't lose that tower, remember, he had a tower here that was rushed down by vills. If that tower is walled in, Viper cannot make this tower here, and that would have allowed ACCM for a castle drop. ACCM could have castle dropped Viper, and then this game is completely different, because then Viper doesn't have safe gold. He's having at least 1 exposed TC. Now he's just bringing the Step Lancers. And, I mean, he's gonna be on 5 TCs, just full boom. This is ridiculous. He's just booming like that one. And you see that his wrist might hurt, and he might be slower than before, but his game sense is still there. And, like, when it comes to macro, he's still impressive. So, I feel like one of the things that we're learning in today's set is that even if Viper's wrist is not 100%, he's still an elite player, and he's showing it over here. 92 wills versus 55. ACCM, he's gonna get beaten to Castle Age at this pace. Look at that, 50 on food in a 27-minute long game. This is ridiculous. Like, we know the Cuman 2 TC boom can be strong, but Viper is taking this to another level. The moment ACCM wasn't able to punish him, he's just gonna boom away with this, and I mean, ACCM is going for defensive castle, but Viper doesn't want to fight. Viper just wants to boom. And boy oh boy is he doing that. He's about to click into Imperial. 104 villagers. Holy potatoes. Like, Viper is missing University and he's about to click into Imperial. And he's just gonna go Cavalier and steamroll everything. But with this eco, he might not even need Cavalier. He could just go for Hussar and just use the Step Husbandry technology of Kumans to flood Hussar and over on ACCM. ACCM doesn't have a bad eco, by the way, for a 29-minute long standard Arabia game. But Viper's got an absolutely crazy eco here. Yeah, Viper might go full Lancers just for style points. But if this series continues like this is gonna be a very, very fast one, because Viper is gonna stomp ACCM if the second game is like this. So yeah, Viper adding some more stables, and he's going for Lancers. Which was the tournament that... Never mind, I got the answer, I remember now. Doubt used Step Lancers in one of the Holy Cup games that he played on Kalimutu Lakes. So Viper is honoring him right now. Or did Step Lancers get buffed? I don't know if they did. I don't think we have received any other major buff for Step Lancers, but I might be wrong. I am not really in the possession of time sufficient to read change logs. The timer is 2 times speed, like this one, has anyone pointed out? That's because this is the real game time. So, it's actually like, the way it works, this is actually a very nice topic to talk about in a game which is gonna fall into Viper's hands in the next couple of moments. Camos might actually perform pretty well against the Step Lancers here, so this is not a good fight for Viper. But, nonetheless, it doesn't matter. Like, Viper's advantage here is so big economically that he can do whatever he wants, and he can still win the game with that. As I said, this was a horrible fight for him still. But he's just gonna go for Step Lancers, and once he gets to Imperial, he's gonna get the Elite upgrade, he's gonna get the Defense upgrade, and now Viper is gonna be in a commanding position. So, here's the deal. The way Age of Empires works is that originally it had an initial game speed. That was the standard, it was called normal game speed. Normal game speed was 1 second of real time is 1 second of in-game time. But that's pretty slow. If you go back to that speed nowadays, you will see it's super slow. For even today's standards, but even 10 years ago, it just felt really slow for competitive purposes and in general. So, people started playing on what was called, I think... I'm not even sure how that was called, but I think they first started playing on 1.4 times speed. But now we're playing, and this is the standard for not only competitive Age of Empires, but in general for ranked Age of Empires, is 1.7 speed. So every 1 second of real time, 1.7 seconds of in-game time passes. This is actually just sort of a faster paced Age of Empires compared to the 1999 version, because today's, people require a slightly faster game. You don't want to sit... Like, imagine if it's a 2 hours long game, you would spend actual 2 hours playing it. Now it's more like an hour or so. Yeah, we were playing, I think, 1.4 or 5 for a long time. Now it's 1.7. And deathmatch is played at 2.0, I think. So... yeah, as I said, this is more of a convenience thing, just because people nowadays don't have time to play 15 hours a day in free games, so this is why we have a 1.7 times speed. But that's traditional, and that's the standard speed in every single Age of Empires game. Like, if you launch a game with 1.0 time, I'm just gonna Alt F4 from that, because like, you can only do that in custom lobbies now. But if you do that, everybody's just gonna quit, because no one wants to play that slow. Yeah, 1.0, best of 9 tourney final is gonna take forever. It also is gonna mean that Manganol Micro is gonna be completely different, because the timings are completely different. That's a good point as well, indeed, that 20 years ago, a faster-paced game like this could have caused more issues, because there's just more things to process for the game. So, now Viper is just coming in with elite step lancers. ACCM is still Castle Age, and he's gonna be forever stuck in Castle Age because he's forced to take fights against Imperial Age units with Castle Age units. And while the camos are technically a counter to cavalry, it's not the case if the cavalry is Imperial Age and the camos are only Castle Age, and Viper is just grinding down the army and the eco of ACCM. This is a massive win here for Viper, and ACCM is just gonna say GG, well played. Viper absolutely stomping ACCM here. I think the only number to look at is this. 14,000 extra resources in a 37-minute long game. Just look at the population proportions. Massive lead by Viper. There was a moment where things got scary for him, but ever since then, he was just leading decisively. He even took the time to pick up 2 relics over here, so even if ACM got to Imperial, Viper's eco would have been way better. And wrist pain this, wrist pain that, Viper still has better APM than ACCM, which is brutal. That is just absolutely bonkers. Alright, quick win over here for Viper, and now we're going to ACCM's home map, which is gonna be Northern Isles. I personally would love to see ACCM winning this, just because I want to see what they would do on Arena. I'm really curious about the Arena game, with the civilizations available. Because this one on Islands is likely going to be something like Italians versus Japanese, most likely, or maybe Portuguese. I don't think Viper's gonna use a Malay here, because it's probably better for Arena. But would love to see Arena being played. Alright, let's see if they have the game or not. All games are live, by the way. The semifinals will be tomorrow. And the grand finals and the third place game are on Sunday. We already have the game up, so let's jump straight in. Portuguese for Viper. Looks like he's not going to pull the trigger on Japanese. Now, when you talk about Portuguese here, as I said at the beginning, you are not allowed to make Feitoria. That's the rule of the tournament, because they don't want to get stalemates, and Viper knows it. He was told by the admins that he is not allowed to make Feitoria. So it's not because of the Feitoria, it's probably because Caravos in such narrow choke points could be pretty decisive of an advantage, plus the discount as well is massive, I would say. Alright. No Feitorias on any maps? That's a good question. I think you can use Feitorias on other maps. It's just for islands, because on islands specifically, it would be very stalematey. But making Feitorias on any other maps doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, maybe on Arena, but I don't think that there is any other map where you would reasonably make Feitorias on a very, very common basis, right? Islands is the main concern. Because this is where it's just impossible to raid your eco. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait, hold on, chat. What on the earth happened here? Why do I have 2 pigs in this transport for ACCM, but not his scout? His scout is back at home. Oh, I see. He used the transport to find these pigs close to the shoreline, and he's gonna pick them up and transport them back home. Oh my goodness. I thought he just transported his scout around, picked off 2 sheep and stole them, but that's not the case. He just used his transport to scout the opponent's island, and he bumped into 2 sheep, and he's going to take them. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. And Viper can't do anything about that, or can he? Did Viper do the same? Where's Viper's transport? Of course, it's just 1 piggy though. That's 1 piggy for Viper. I'm not sure where he picked those up. I think it was probably somewhere around over here. So Viper in the end is actually gonna have 1 pig of a disadvantage. That's basically it. ACCM steals 2, and Viper just stole 1. Now, you can compensate for stolen deer by or stolen sheep by pushing in the air, so it's not really a big deal over here. But it's a fun one. Anyways, looking at the islands of the Viper here, he's got this super safe gold mine over here. This one is also safe. This is also a safe gold mine for the time being. This one is a quite exposed one for ACCM though. rest of the resources are all safe for ACCM. So I would say ACCM is a slightly worse map than Viper, but not by a massive margin. So, Portuguese versus Italians. This is a matchup where, when it comes to the quality of the ships, the Portuguese will decimate the Italians. So once we get to Imperial Age, and once you get Karak, the extra Pierce armor on those ships will mean that your navy is always going to be better than the Italian one. So Italians have to use their power spikes here if they want to have a chance. That's the key thing. Because if you use your power spikes, you might be able to snowball the game from that. But Italians have to use those, otherwise they don't stand a chance. Because post-Imperial, the Portuguese navy is light years ahead compared to the Italian navy. Alrighty, so ACCM for now in with the first boar, and it looks like he's gonna drop a dock at the back of his base. So he's gonna go for the safe fishing. Viper's gonna go for a front dock, and in fact, that dock is in this very narrow choke point. So it's very possible that the core concept here is that he just wants to control this passage, and this allows him to get some very nice demo hits in, if that's the case. And maybe the idea is that he wants to fish on this side, and then just have his military on the right side. And if ACCM is coming from the right, then you can just control this choke point and your fish will always be safe. I'm not sure what's up with the birds on this map, but I think we have all the birds on this map on this screen right now. With like 1,000,000 birds here. Let's see, for Viper, it looks like deer pushing isn't really a big thing right now. He just pushed in one and that's basically it. For now, he's probably consuming the boars and he will eventually push in his ibexes, but not for now. ACCM should hit Feudal Age a little faster. And then once we get closer to Feudal Age, we'll see if anyone's gonna think about landing here. Because I think the Italians could use a bit of an advantage on land. As I said, they don't want to go post-Imperial against Portuguese on pure water, so you probably want to do some landing. Anyways, looks like ACM is just chilling, pushing in deer for the time being. And on the other side, Viper, same thing. Looks like he's gonna click up to Feudal after this villager, and that's gonna be a pretty clean galley rush timing. Slightly faster Feudal, obviously, for Italians, thanks to their discount. So now the question is, what is ACM gonna do with his docks? Because he's got a back dock over here, so he can't really be aggressive unless he makes a front dock. It's possible he will try to play front dock and just use this one sort of as a backup fishing option. But it would be weird because I think Viper could easily outnumber him. Viper is adding some more fishing ships. ACCM is looking for the dock of the opponent here, whereas Viper is doing the exact same thing. Viper is going to stop or spot the dock from ACCM, and there is going to be a transport. So this is why ACCM is docking at the back, because he wants to transport vehicles around. He knows about this dock, so he knows exactly he can't land here, so he should go for this side of a landing. Barracks coming up at home for ACCM. He's probably going to try going for archers here. I like that the barracks is back at home, and this is what I was talking about. If for nothing else, your transport is good enough to block the opponent's fishing ships from accessing fish and just be annoying with it, right? You see, Viper is trying to make sure that those ships, fishing ships will bump into his transport and they will just become a little more inefficient. Anyways, there's the landing, and ACCM, that's very underwhelming there. He just showed his scout to the opponent, although for Viper, it doesn't guarantee that this is a landing, but it at least alerts him that there is a possibility of a landing, and you see he's already scouting for the vills. He knows exactly that's the case, reacts to barracks. The other thing I don't like about this landing for ACCM is that scouts can be walled out and scouts can be dealt with using spearmen, whereas if he went for an archer's landing, Viper would have to make a barracks, and he would need to make an archer range as well to defend with skirmishers. So I feel like the archer opening would have been much more beneficial here for ACCM. Viper is double dogs going in for the fire galleys. ACCM is making fire galleys himself. But I feel like this landing is just not working out for ACCM. Tower versus counter tower coming in. ACCM will have to bail on that tower. He baited the tower from Viper, and you see that Viper is not deleting that yet, but he's also not continuing it. The idea here is that if ACCM continues his tower, Viper is going to continue his own. If ACCM deletes, Viper is gonna delete as well. That's very, very smart. If you finish your defensive tower, that means the ACCM can drop a tower that you won't be able to counter tower over here, as now ACCM is coming in with the archers. Meanwhile, fire galley fights are happening, and ACCM is just gonna lose his fishing eco. And I feel like the moment he loses his fishing eco, Viper is just gonna outboom him on water. This is why I feel like ACCM is in trouble here. Scout taking the fight against the Spearman. Nice micro from ACCM to keep the scouts alive. Viper is going for his own archers for defensive purposes. But as I said, if ACCM loses water, Viper is just gonna have such a big eco lead from the fishing that it's not gonna be impossible for ACCM to compensate. As, oh my goodness, Viper. Beautiful quick walls over there. Not a lot of villagers inside the TC, so the scouts won't take a huge amount of damage, but most of them are already pretty heavily battered, so it doesn't really matter. And you see, ACM is already AFK, or idle, with his fish. Viper has got an untouched fishing economy, and I feel like the moment he starts to realize that his opponent is off from water, he's gonna go for some more fishing ships here. And he's just gonna boom away with this one. Here come the archers, and this tower might also be stopped. There is some archers and skirms here for ACCM, but at this point, Viper just wants to stop that tower, and even if this tower isn't stopped, it's not the end of the world for Viper. He has a second wood line to go for. He just doesn't want to walk all across his base, but it seems somewhat unlikely that this tower is going up for ACCM. He's already taking a lot of damage as well. Viper taking up dock. ACCM is massing some more warships here to take this fight. He's gonna pop out all three of them when he has free. Looks like Viper stopped making fire galleys for the time being. He's probably looking for a transport of his opponent. For now, scouts are on the way. Archers will be supporting. ACCM will try to pick off the spearmen with the scouts, and Viper is gonna launch a counterattack with archers. I don't think ACCM is expecting this. And ACCM has nothing at home to defend against 4 archers with. The archers are fletching, so they can do quite a bit of the damage. As Viper might have some heated moments on his own wood line as well. Viper is going to lose his fish, his fire galleys over here, close to the fish of ACCM. So Viper is going to need a couple more fire galleys, and he's ready to land. He's just too busy fighting this one right now. Nice micro from ACCM, picking off the spearman before the scouts would dive in on the archers of Viper. And Viper is having a tough time with this fight right now. Vorion, thank you so much for the 2 years. I appreciate it a lot. Wow, that's a lot of time. I don't think you're the first one with 2 years. I think I can check that out. But you are definitely one of the OGs around here. I would have to check if someone has a longer sub than you. You're, I think, definitely in the top 3. Nonetheless, here come the archers. And, I mean, this could be game over for ACCM here. He is not in a position to win water. Viper has the fishing eco working the whole game. Now ACCM is off from berries. He has to scramble to defend his fruit eco. And he's gonna have to make a defensive archer range back at home. Viper, he did lose 1 villager in the entire game. That's basically it. ACCM also just lost 1, but the eco efficiency is much worse for ACCM right now. On the other hand, Viper stopped making fire galleys, so his fishing eco is a little exposed over here. As the market is now coming up, Viper just wants to go into Castle Age now. Because if he gets to Castle, he would have Crossbowman. That's gonna be an absolute pain for ACCM to stop. Tries to get another villager pick and should get it. Skirm's defense now on the way for ACCM. He does have fletching as well. But I feel like ACCM is getting set back very heavily going into Castle Age, and he will just get beaten by fire ships from Viper. Viper still has his fishing eco. This is what I was talking about, that you can use this area for a safe fishing by controlling this choke point, and that's exactly what Viper is doing right now. Archer's looking for a couple more villagers to pick off. Viper is on the way to Castle, and as things stand, I don't think that we're going to see Arena, which would be a shame. I would have loved to see something like Malay versus Bohemians. Scouts and archers are still here for ACCM, but they're not really doing much. So it's not like Viper has to be afraid of that army over there. Whereas on the other side, these guys are definitely doing the work. There is 1 villager going down. ACCM will be able to clean this one up, but once again, his eco is looking like an absolute mess. He's not far away from Castle Age, but he will still get beaten to it. And that's the main problem that ACCM is facing right now. One game down. He's in serious, serious trouble. By the way, Warren, I just checked. There is one person with 27 months. That I think is the longest sub streak I have. Like 27 is 2 years and 5 months, and we are in October. That means that that sub started 2019 August, no, September, August, July, June, May. So 2 months after I started streaming. When he said, oh yeah, never mind, 2 years, 3 months. Never mind, I'm potato. I'm potato with the math. Alright, Castle Age in for Viper. ACCM is also on the way to Castle Age, but I mean, there is gonna be crossbows here for Viper, and he's already setting up a stable on the opponent's island. Because ACCM has no tools to control this internal area. War Galley will be in for Viper, so his fireships will destroy ACCM's only dock. ACCM is still trying to hold on to this defensive position here on his own island, and also his aggressive stance on Viper's one, but Viper's probably just gonna make Siege Workshop and clean this up. His own crossbows will pick off the archers eventually, and now the crossbows are moving in. I just don't think ACCM will survive until reaching Castle Age. These crossbows are tearing him apart, or even if he survives, he will be so much behind in terms of economy that there's just gonna be no way to compensate. Viper actually sold his stone to go up, by the way, because now he's remining it. Couple more villagers go down for ACCM. He's unable to get safe gold income. There's already a knight coming in the monastery for Viper. I think Viper might even try to steal this relic and bring it back home. That's a very likely possibility. ACCM has 23% eco efficiency. And as I said, Viper is very close to just pushing that dagger even deeper with the forward Siege Workshop. Or just 1 or 2 knights here. ACCM is not ready to fight against knights here. Hello, knights. Picking off the vills. And I think this is the end for ACCM. He just cleaned up the aggression on the left side. Now he's losing vills on the right side. And yeah, I felt like when he sees the knights on his wood line, knowing that he's got like nothing to deal with them, that's a sign that it's over. Viper stomps ACCM 2-0 here. In this one, he's the one to move into the semifinals to play against either Villesse or Project Belgium. And I did say that I think whoever wins this matchup is the favorite over Villesse or Project Belgium. I still keep myself to that. Viper has got a very good shot at even getting to the finals here with this.